So welcome, everybody. I think we got everybody in who was in the waiting room. We're excited to have you here today to experience the presentation that Kristin has prepared for you. She did this presentation at the NCCC conference, and Lee attended it. I was not able to attend it, but we were very impressed. So we asked her if she could do it for the whole state, and she's doing that today. So I will talk about the next slide, and then Lee will give an official professional introduction to Kristin. So if you didn't notice this while you were waiting, the system office does not allow AI bots to attend our meetings. So if you brought your bot, just please tell him to go back home. If not, Lee will eventually find him and kick him out.
I will. I'm pretty good at hunting bots.
We do encourage you to turn your cameras on if you're willing to do that. It makes the presentation more fun for the presenter and more real. And we will be using a breakout room today where you get to practice with AI and you'll get to work with some of your colleagues from around the state. So without further ado, Lee, you go ahead to your part.
Okay, so I do want to introduce our lovely presenter for today, Kristin Erhard. She started teaching in adult education in 2010. She currently is an English language acquisition instructor and a professional development facilitator, and that's how I was introduced to her from the PDF project. She helps develop instructional resources and training and supports instructors in her department at AB Technical Community College. Over the years, she has taught all levels of English language acquisition. She served as an academic advisor, a GED ASE instructor, and a curriculum developer. She's also worked as a project manager and instructional designer for educational startups, including an English language learning app and career exploration platform. So early on in her career, she was already demonstrating a proclivity towards using tech tools for language learning, and also her tech savviness, which we will see today in ChatGPT. Kristin does hold multiple degrees, including a Master's of Arts in Lifelong Learning from University College London, a graduate certificate in teaching English from East Carolina University, and a Bachelor of Arts from the University of North Carolina in Asheville. She's also holds multiple certificates, including the TEFL, Train the Trainer certificate from the U.S. State Department, where she served as a virtual English language fellow. She also has quite a diverse experience teaching and learning abroad. She's studied in Denmark, Spain, Nicaragua, and the UK. She also taught English in Greece and Spain, in addition to teaching students online in Panama, Mexico, and India. And most recently, she has been selected to represent North Carolina as a state advocate for adult education fellow. This is with COABE's State Advocates for Adult Education Fellowship. So this is actually very opportune to make this announcement in the midst of our COABE webinar series. She's the second North Carolinian to serve as an SAAEF fellow. So congratulations, Kristin, and thank you for advocating for our learners on a national level. And with that said, I now give you the stage, Kristin, to share with us some information about ChatGPT.
Thank you, Dan and Lee. And welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. My goal today is that you leave here feeling really inspired and equipped to use artificial intelligence in your classroom, in your lessons, and that it's not overwhelming at all. In fact, you're going to find that it's incredibly simple to use and will be your new best friend if you let it. So I'm going to share my screen just a moment. Right. So there we go. All right, I believe you all can see that. Full screen mode. What's happening here though?
We can. It's just not in a slideshow right now. But yes, we can definitely see that.
Let's see. That's weird. I can see it on mine, not on there. Try it one more time.
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult with dual monitors.
That is what's going on here, I think. Let's see. As you can see, technology is so easy to use. All right, one last time. Share screen.
It said you were sharing it, but there was nothing.
It instructed you to double click. And if we're still having issues, that's fine. Then yeah, I can definitely share the PowerPoint, and Kristin, you'll just let me know when to click. We could do it the old school way, not a problem.
Let's see, 1 second here.
While Kristin's doing that, I am putting in the chat. We shared this with you yesterday via email, a way to set up a ChatGPT account that's free if you haven't already done that or done so. So I am sharing that in the chat if you have a moment. It's a couple clicks. Definitely we would recommend, so you can play around with this platform once we get to the breakout session. And it looks like it just says double click to enter full screen mode.
Lee, why don't you?
I can definitely go ahead.
Only because
Yep.
Kristin has a fully packed hour.
She does. That's fine. That is fine, Kristin. So yeah, just let me know when to go on to the next slide.
Cool. All right.
Okay. And hopefully you can see that.
We can.
Okay. Here we go. All right. So, okay, great. So I'm going to go quickly through the beginning and give you an overview of artificial intelligence, what it is. You can advance the slide. So today we're going to be talking about generative artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is an umbrella term that encompasses all different forms from Siri on your phone to ChatGPT that we'll look at today. Artificial intelligence has been a part of our lives for a while now, but it's been a buzzword for the last year or so. So this is our agenda. We're going to define generative artificial intelligence. That includes ChatGPT, Gemini, and Copilot. We'll talk more about that. We're going to talk about some challenges in education, how you can use AI in adult education, how you can more specifically use it to develop lessons and instructional materials. And then we're going to have some time to talk about the ethical considerations. And the second half, you're going to do some real hands-on stuff. So you're going to use generative AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, or Copilot to experiment and see what you can create. And then you'll have some time to talk in breakout rooms. So if you haven't already, please do try to open a ChatGPT account. The instructions, as Lee indicated, are in the chat. So you can do that while you listen. You'll have to, it's just connecting it to your email. All right, you can advance the slide. So or generative artificial intelligence. Some names changed in the last week if you've kept up with the news. Bard was Google's version of generative AI, and now it's called Gemini. Bing Chat was Microsoft's version, and now it's called Copilot. That just happened in the last week, really. So things are rapidly changing in the world of AI. And then ChatGPT is probably the most well-known, most publicized generative AI that's been in the news. And that was the first release in November of 2022. All of these are free. They have free versions. There's also, of course, premium paid subscriptions, but you can use any of these platforms for free. And just to give you to just kind of dip your toes in how this all works, artificial intelligence was made by teaching computers through all of the billions, trillions of words on the internet and the language that exists there. So the computer learned from everything that we as humans have put out into the ether. And so the computers have learned and developed their own intelligence based on this. It works, as you'll see soon if you've never used it before, by guessing what words would come next based on all of that text it learned from. So kind of like predictive text. That's, again, another form of AI that we've had incorporated into our lives for some time now without thinking of it necessarily as such. Great. So AI, but of course you can ask AI later more about itself, which is one of the fun features when you're chatting with it, and I'll show you too how to do that. But if you're curious, dig in further later about how it all works. It's pretty fascinating stuff. But today we're going to focus on how generative AI is used in adult education. And before we jump in, I want you all to just please take a moment in the chat and list some challenges that you all as adult educators experience in the field of adult education. What's challenging about your jobs? Put that in the chat. Great. A few more. Seeing some themes come up here. And you probably all realize this was a leading question. So differentiation is coming up. Communicating with students, time constraints, a huge challenge. It's endless, really, how much time you could spend creating materials, making lessons, looking things up. I see some other themes here, just playing multiple roles between instructor, administrator, curriculum developer, all of these different things that we do. Great. Wonderful. Yeah, thanks so much for putting that in the chat. So you can advance the slide, Lee. So as we just talked about, all of these themes come up here. You have in any given classroom, even when it's like supposed to be one level, you have very diverse needs, backgrounds, interests, differentiation. And you have all sorts of barriers or learning differences, things that you have to tailor your instruction to. I think there might be one more. And of course, the big one, there is just never enough time and never enough resources for everything that you might imagine. And so again, I am a huge fan of this because it can save you time. Like it can really not only save you time, but you can make your dream lessons come true in a matter of minutes. And it sounds like a gimmick, but as you will see, it is not. So here's what we're going to cover today. So generative AI can be used, so ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, you can use them to contextualize instruction. So if you're teaching a lesson on natural disasters, you can contextualize the grammar if you're an ELA or ESL instructor. You can make practice exercises that relate to that unit and that theme. You can create personalized lesson plans. Many of you have students that are working at different paces and they're in the same classroom, but you want one student over here working on ratios and percentages, and that student's really into NASCAR. And you have another student over here who really needs to work on decimals and fractions, and that student really loves cooking. Without AI assistance, that could take hours to put together personalized, contextualized lessons. And with these tools I'm going to show you today, you can do it in minutes. You can support students. It can support you as a teacher. It can support students with their homework. You can show them how to use it on their own at home to enhance all sorts of things and get better explanations and inquire. Advance again. I teach English language acquisition, and I've shown my students what's behind the curtain, and I've shown them how they can use generative AI to improve their own language skills. They can chat with it. They can have all sorts of conversations. They can ask questions about idioms and whatever comes to mind. This one is a proceed with caution, but it is a way, just like the internet in general, to gather basic information and research topics. Of course, there's nothing that replaces the human mind and critical thinking to really dig in and research a topic, but it's a way to get a cursory overview of a topic. And then this one, again, as a continuing education instructor teaching English language acquisition, I don't see any issue with my students using ChatGPT to enhance their writing and help them learn how to write better. Of course, for curriculum instructors, 4-credit classes, that presents a lot of issues with plagiarism. But for the purpose of English language learners, I feel like it's an excellent tool. They can see how a professional email would be written, or how take their own writing and ask it to be better. And with our own guidance as educators, we can show and talk about how they might learn from the output from generative AI. And then, of course, like we talked about, our classrooms are very diverse. There's many learning differences, and this can be accessibility support. Just different ways to tailor the instruction. It can be a virtual discussion partner. If you're ever feeling lonely or we have another pandemic, you have your new best friend. And really, anything else you can dream of that is text-based, language-based, can really be fabricated or generated through AI. So without further ado, if you haven't used it before, you're wondering, well, what is it? So let's get in. You can advance. Oh, and can you advance this slide, please?
I'm trying to. For some reason, it's not letting me. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Okay.
Okay, cool. All right. So as I mentioned, there's many different platforms now that are using generative AI. Canva incorporates elements of it. Kahoot, Quizlet. You've probably noticed some of your favorite educational websites now are AI assisted. But the top 3 generative AI chatbots, which we're going to explore today, the most popular ones right now are ChatGPT, Gemini, which is Google's version. As of the last week, it changed names. It was previously called Bard. And Copilot, which is Microsoft, previously called Bing Chat. So those are the links there. Let's see, actually. I'm going to try to share my screen again. I think I might have resolved the issue, but if I haven't.
That'd be great, because I know you want a pilot walkthrough demonstration of some of these generative AI platforms. So let's see if you can actually do that.
Is it working?
Yay, it's working. Yes.
Okay, multiple monitor, it's not a problem.
Yay.
So I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a preview of all of these, and you don't have to remember the web address. You can always just go and Google and type in ChatGPT and it will get you there. But I'm going to take you to ChatGPT and show you what it looks like. So by now, hopefully you've created a ChatGPT account. And if not, you got to go and sign up and then go check your email, go back. Takes a few minutes. You can also link it to an existing account down here. So here is ChatGPT. It's free, like I said. There is a paid version, but for all intents and purposes, you don't need to use it. Let's see. So this is what it looks like when you get onto the home screen, and you down here see where you can message ChatGPT. This is where you can put in your commands, basically your requests, and I'll show you that in a moment. Here's Gemini, and again, if you forget, you can type in Gemini AI in Google, and it will take you there. So this is Gemini, and it's a similar format. You put your prompt down below. And then here is Microsoft version Copilot. And if you forget, type in Copilot, Microsoft, click on there, and it will take you here. We're going to talk in a bit about the distinctions and the pros and cons of each platform for the purpose of lesson planning and creating instructional materials, but more or less they're all excellent. And they have a few things, that we'll look at aspects that are stronger or weaker on each one. So those are the three platforms we're talking about. Here's a comparison just for the purpose of lesson plans and instructional materials. There's plenty of other features to compare and contrast, but for our purposes, the generative capabilities of each, it's important to note that ChatGPT does not generate images. There's other websites that do it. There's one called DALL-E where you can put in a command to create an image of a banana wearing a dress, and it will make it. But ChatGPT just deals with text, and it can code too. So if any of you are really fancy or trying to become sophisticated in that area, you can instantly get your coding degree. Gemini does text, code, and generates images, as does Copilot. Another important thing to note is that ChatGPT it's been updated. It used to be 2021, but now it's the free version's limited to events before January 2022. Gemini and Copilot are more up to date, but I was experimenting just a few days ago to see what it would tell me, like about the Israel-Palestine conflict and this, and it oftentimes will kind of encourage you to go figure that out yourself. But ChatGPT couldn't give me any information because that was it began in October 2023, whereas Gemini and Copilot could give an overview. So you can kind of experiment and see what it knows about current events and recent information in the world. But otherwise, ChatGPT is drawing on older information. But again, as we're going to talk about later, I would not recommend using this as a source of factual information. Of course, in our classrooms, we want to encourage looking at a diverse array of resources and critical thinking, but it could make for an interesting discussion. What are the implications of generative AI telling us about our news as humans? And then, of course, accuracy. Use them all with care. Even if you're doing something that's just seems so basic, like simple past exercises, I still will generate things and I'll check it. Occasionally it makes some mistakes, but honestly, when it comes to language teaching, I feel like ChatGPT understands the English language better than most linguists because it has learned it and understands rules and how it all works. So anyway, now we're going to dig in, take a look at what this all looks like. So for ChatGPT, you can open your account, and here's some tips. When you're putting in a command, be as specific as possible about the who or what of your request. The more specific you get, the better the results. But keep in mind, you don't want to overwhelm with too much at one time. You can put in, it's a chat bot, so it's like a conversation. It remembers the previous inquiries or input, so you don't have to be verbose every time. It will build off of what you've previously requested, and I'm going to show you that. Also, really cool, you can put in content standards. So I'll show you how to do that. You can tailor things, again, personalize it, contextualize it. So let me show you what this looks like. If you haven't seen this before, get ready. So I'm going to start with just a basic request. Create a 1-hour lesson plan about the simple past. And I'm going to add some adjectives: an engaging and interactive 1-hour lesson plan about this simple past for, so I said my what, and now I'm going to do my who for, we'll say, low intermediate English language learners. For, I'm even going to add adults. And I'm going to add one more thing, include practice exercises and partner activities. Okay, let's see what it's got. This is where, if you all had your microphones unmuted and you've never seen it before, you're like, oh, that.
There was an audible gasp that occurred at the conference when Kristin demonstrated this. It was a really cool experience.
All right, and if we take a look, indeed, it looks pretty engaging and it looks pretty interactive. This is just the lesson plan though, and I'm taking a look here. Provide students with a list of verbs in their infinitive form. Ask them to categorize the verbs into regular and irregular verbs. Encourage them to discuss, okay. Well, great in theory, but where is that list? So I'm going to take this and I'm going to reference it. Provide the list of verbs in infinitive form. And typos are okay, as you'll see. And let's say that I look at this and there's something else that's missing here too, or not missing, but it's in the lesson plan. It's not created yet. Assign a simple past writing task for homework. Well, I'm going to just copy that. Create the simple past writing task for homework. Amazing. Let's say I want to add some exercises. Create 20 exercises using the simple past. Let's say I think, I want my students talking more, not just writing. I want a little more creativity. And also they've been reading about llamas. So create a 300-word dialogue in the simple past about llamas. And again, it still should remember low intermediate English language learners, but let's see.
I love the curious woman and friendly llama farmer at the top.
And it's wonderful. So, but now I think, I don't want them just reading that dialogue. I want them to replace the verbs and put them in the simple past. So, rewrite. So anything that you're thinking, just tell it to ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot, whatever you're using. So keep just giving it the commands that you want until you get the product you desire. So rewrite that dialogue, and you don't have to give it affirmation in the meantime either. You don't have to be like, oh, well, that was great. However, you can just give it the command. And of course, you can be polite if you want to, but rewrite that dialogue, but replace the simple past verbs with blanks and base verbs. Okay, kind of did it, but now here's where I'm like, that's not quite what I was going for, because here I need the verb to be afterwards. So instead, I'm gonna now take this and be more specific. Rewrite the dialogue with blanks, including base verbs after, like this. And I'm going to indicate what I'm looking for. There we go. So really, you shouldn't have to do any of the work. You just have to get good at delegating the work. It's really like management 101, isn't it? So again, and even small things, like at first when I started using this, I was like, oh, well, that's what I wanted, but you didn't boldface the dialogue, the speakers. And then I realized, oh, I can just ask for that. Boldface all the base verbs. And again, if it's not doing what you want, give it the instructions. It figures out pretty quickly. And if it's not figuring it out, like I showed you, give it an example. I feel like the examples really perfect the output. If it's not understanding your version of how it should be, then show it, show, don't tell. So as educators, we're already equipped to teach AI how to do what we want. It works. So I'm going to show you a few other things before we go into our breakout rooms. Yeah. So again, you can play around if you are trying to tailor your instruction to ABE, ASE, career and college readiness standards. You can cut and paste from there. So let's say I'm going to do Control F, which is also a good trick to use. I'm going to look for something on decimals in this document. And let's say we're teaching decimals, and this is the standard we're teaching. And I want to create a lesson plan on this. Create a 1-hour lesson for an adult basic education learner on, there we go, that's the topic. And let's say that I have Roger in my class and Roger loves NASCAR. I'm going to say, create 5 word problems for an adult basic education learner who loves NASCAR. And we're going to do it related to decimals. So again, the who and the what. Always be specific. You can always get more specific in your subsequent requests, but from the beginning, if you can say the who and the what, you're going to have better outcomes. And sometimes we don't even want to have to solve these with answers. Explain how to calculate that, or explain those answers. So it's pretty mind-blowing. And it really, it does take you as the human, you still have value, you still have a job, and you should check this over, make sure it's accurate, but it's very impressive what it can come up with, how it can contextualize, how it can personalize, how it can make all of this stuff happen instantaneously. And what I like to do then is I create something like, create a new one.
You just blew Faith Palmer's mind, by the way, Kristin.
Create a, like for example, explain the difference between simple past and present perfect for high intermediate English language learners. So what I've been doing then is I put in stuff like this, and I've been teaching this for years. And there's always exceptions in the grammar books, even the best ones. I'll have one really sharp student who's like, well, you said this, but what about this? And then I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then I found, again, that ChatGPT can give me really succinct and not always perfect. I can sometimes get into it with ChatGPT, like, you said this, but what about this? But really, it can simplify. And if I think it's too complex, I'll just say, make simpler. And then what I do is I take this, I create a PowerPoint, and I create a mind map, and I have the students fill it out instead of just handing it over to them, but I put it in the PowerPoint. What are the uses of the simple past? Here come the highlights, this, and this, and they're filling it out. They're putting examples. And then, like I showed you before, like create a dialogue and leave it blank and have them fill it in, or have them decide, is it simple past or present perfect based on these rules? So create a dialogue based on these rules with blanks for simple past and present perfect. Okay, I'll cut myself off here in a moment, but. And again, you see it's leaving, it looks a little funky. That wasn't what I was going for. So I'm going to tell it, I'm going to take that, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to show it what I really want it to do, make it like this. It's not really doing it, but again, you can kind of keep going back and forth until it gets what you're going for. So as I hope the takeaway here then is you can really experiment galore and try. There's really no harm in trying. It can do it or it can't do it. And if it can't do it, the problem is actually probably you. You need to give it a better example or a better command. So it's not AI, it's you. So customize exercises, worksheets, skits and dialogues, math and grammar, adjust reading levels of text. I do this all the time, especially differentiation. If it's a web-based text and I can copy and paste, for example, ESL, formerly ESL library, has lots of readings, but sometimes I want to make it a little harder for some students and I want to make it a little easier for others. I'll copy, I'll paste that, and I'll ask ChatGPT to identify key vocabulary, give sample sentences, use it, create a close exercise, make the reading easier, make it harder. I generate conversation questions with it, especially to carry from one lesson to the next. We just did present perfect and simple past. Next lesson, we're going to start with some warm-up questions. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to create 10 conversation questions. Voila. And that's how we're tying it together. The last lesson, the new lesson, they start with this warm-up. They're using it in discussion. I'm circulating around. We can talk about it together. And again, all these questions, like some of them are just so much better than anything I could sit there for 20 minutes coming up with. So possibilities galore. Project description guidelines, sample essays. Again, use it as a tool. Teach them like, what's good about this? What would you change about this? Information gap activities, jigsaw readings, anything you can think of. So I've shown you a bunch. Ask it for explanations of things you don't know how to explain. Ask it to try something new. If you don't know how to do jigsaw reading, you've heard it before, you've done it before, but you can't wrap your head around it, it can explain it to you. Making close exercises. All right. I think, okay, maybe we'll just spend like a couple minutes, do one together here. Actually, no, I think we'll do breakout rooms because we're already over time. Let's do the breakout rooms, I suppose. I'm a fast talker. So it's your turn. I want to make sure you all have some time to try it out together. Lee, Dan, and I will be circulating the breakout rooms to troubleshoot and support you. But what I want you to do is give it a shot. So I want you to open up ChatGPT if you've created an account. If you haven't, you can do Copilot. Or if you already have like Gmail and you're familiar and you use Google products, you can use Gemini. And again, if you forget how to get to any of these, just type in Gemini AI or Copilot AI or ChatGPT. Well, I hope that you all at least are inspired to keep asking questions and exploring at the very least. And whatever questions I can't answer, ChatGPT probably can. And as I visited different breakout rooms and people were saying, I wonder if it does this, would it do this? And the best way to learn is to just try it, ask it. Doesn't hurt to ask when it's a robot, right? Sometimes it hurts to ask, but not when it's ChatGPT. So we were talking to, for administrators, you know, you might not be trying to make lesson plans and instructional materials, but you might find ways in which this could streamline your processes. For example, if you just had a set of data and you just wanted it to pull out phone numbers or just pull out this column, try copy paste the data in there and ask it to identify or do that. Again, the sky's the limit with this. So whatever you're wondering about, give it a shot, and, you know, share with your colleagues, let them know how they might use this in there to streamline their own jobs. I think one of the perks of AI is that it can like free us up to be more creative. And I know there's a lot of fear around how this might take our jobs, but if it's taking the boring part of my job, go ahead. And if it allows me to be more creative and
Oh, somebody muted Kristin.
I got muted. I'll take the cue. But yeah, if it allows us to be more creative and do less of the mundane, dry drudgery, I think then in that case, I'm a fan. So please feel free to reach out to me with questions that you have. I believe this recording will be posted.
It will.
Asked about that, and the PowerPoint will be posted as well.
It will.
Cool. And then you see my email is on the screen. So reach out to me with any questions. I'm happy to help. And what I can't help with, I'll ask ChatGPT to do for me.
And Wanda did actually ask a great question, which I don't know this. How can you print the information that you create? I imagine you can copy and paste into a doc, but do you know of any other tricks or techniques for printing?
Yes, here, I'll show you real quick one thing that I've learned from this.
Great question,
In
Wanda.
ChatGPT, especially if you want to maintain the boldface. So it gives you at the end of each, you all can see this, right? Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So it has the clipboard, so you can click copy. What I do then is I create a Word doc or a Google Doc and I put it in there and copy paste. But if you just use the clipboard, it doesn't maintain all the format. Like it doesn't maintain the boldface, as you'll see right here. But if I manually copy it, copy paste, it will. So I don't know why that's kind of like for all the impressive features. Whoops, it's not doing it there. For all the impressive features, the manual copy, I use Microsoft usually, but the manual copy will maintain it, but it's not on Google Docs. Compatibility issues. Anyway, experiment around with it, but that's what I do then is I copy, paste, add things together, and then again, of course, read through it, edit it, personalize it, and don't just like copy paste and forget about it, because you will find that, yeah, it's making mistakes or there's glaring omissions.
Thank you so much, Kristin. This has been really fascinating, and I'm sure almost everybody in here learned a lot. Some people might have already had a lot of experience, but most of us haven't. And just to let all of you know, we are going to work on a little boot camp for using AI in adult ed. And I lost Kristin, but I'm hoping that I can get Kristin to be really heavily involved in that. Probably starting in the fall, have to figure out a way to pay her. But keep that in mind. It will be application, we'll be accepting, you know, it'll be limited to a certain number of people, but I'll be advertising that again more soon. And since I'm here, I wanted to mention a couple of things. Basically, this is shameless advertising. So thank you, Kristin. Thanks all of you for attending. And to let you know that a lot of exciting things have happened. Our website at NC Title II is coming together. The PD calendar is live. The professional development archives are live. So you can look for videos there. And Lee is going to put these links in the chat. And make sure you check out the our blog where we have, I might be able to show that for a minute. This is one of the things I wanted to talk about. It always wants to question me whether I'm secure. We're doing Standards in Action again this spring. It was advertised in our newsletter. It's on the blog. This will be limited to 30 people who apply, and the application is down here at the bottom. I am going to send out an announcement to the directors too, advertising this, but some of you might be in some of these pictures from last year's PDF network. This is a picture from the Eastern half because we forgot to take pictures at the Western meeting. So if you were Eastern, you might be in there. Back to my PowerPoint. So there's those things I wanted to mention. Also, we have more webinars coming up. Oh, wait, this is about COABE. So North Carolina, I know of 3 different sessions we're doing at COABE. There might be more than that, but at least 3 that involve our directors and PDFs from North Carolina, and Davidson Davy teachers and instructors doing one on developmental ed. And also, if you're going to COABE, I'd love for you to fill out this really brief survey just so that we can stay in touch and bring everybody together while we're down there. And then just because we've kept you over already, I'll go really fast. We have a bunch of webinars coming up. The core for March 25th is open, and there's the link for Standards in Action. Lee is putting all of that in the chat. She probably has already. She's very efficient. And I think that was my last thing. So thank you so much for your attention today, and I'm sorry that we kept you over, but I appreciate you staying.
Thank you, everyone.
Any questions for Kristin? You're welcome to ask her if she's willing to stay.
Yeah, I'm willing to stay if you guys want to ask questions. And thank you all for coming. Thanks, Dan and Lee, for facilitating.
Thank you so much.
Kristin. Yeah. Thank you for volunteering or being voluntold, since I was inspired by your presentation from the conference.